Hey guys, I am back this week with a one brand tutorial. I am going to be using products from Tarte Cosmetics. They came out with a couple of new items that I am really excited about. They are from their Tartiest Pro line, and I got the Tartiest Pro Glow palette and also the Tartiest Pro eyeshadow palette, so it just kind of inspired me to do a whole one brand tutorial using the brand Tarte. I didn't have everything that I needed before to do a whole one brand tutorial, but I finally have enough stuff, so I am really excited about it. The first thing I'm going to do in this tutorial is prime my eyes using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I have the shade Lights, and I am going to start with my eyes just because I find that it's easier to kind of clean up everything if I do my eyes first. So I am just going to put a little bit on my eyelids there and blend it out with my finger. I absolutely love this concealer. I use it as my eyelid primer a lot, but I'm also gonna use it as my concealer today. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into this Tartiest Pro palette. It's gorgeous, let me just say. I zoomed you in just a little bit so you're actually gonna be able to see what I'm doing to my eyes. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the shade Classic right over here and the Tartiest Pro palette on my E27 Morphe brush, and I am just going to set my entire lid where I put that concealer down. This is just going to help all of the other shades blend together really well and just kind of lay down nicer in general. I'm going to be using the third row down in this palette, and here's just kind of a nice view of this palette for you guys. I really love this palette. The shadows in this are super high quality. I also bought the Tarte Pretty Paint Box palette and I hated it. I was like, this is not good. This is not up to Tarte standards when it comes to quality, but the Tarte Pro palette is amazing. I'm gonna go into the shade Chic right here, again on my Morphe E27, and I'm just gonna use this as my transition shade. Having this down kind of makes it easier when you go from the darker colors on your lid up to your brow bone. I'm gonna move on to my Morphe M503 brush, and I'm going to take the shade Profesh right here, and I'm going to deepen up the crease with this shade. Make sure everything is nice and blended, but that is not hard to do with this palette. This palette really does blend very well. I think that this would be a great palette for both pros and beginners alike because the shadows are so easy to work with. I'm gonna go back in with my E27 and that first shade Classic, and I'm going to kind of buff out the edges here. Again, I don't like any harsh lines, so this just kind of softens the look a little bit. Next, I'm gonna go in with this shade right here, Drama, and I'm gonna try to do like a halo effect around the eye. So I'm just going to take it on this Morphe M503 again, which is just kind of a denser brush that isn't too fluffy. And I'm going to pack it on the outer third and the inner third of my lid and then kind of lightly blend them together. I am trying to kind of wing it out this way. I do have hooded eyes, and that kind of helps open up my eyes a little bit more. And I'm going to bring this shade up a little bit higher, again, because you won't be able to see it with my hooded eyes. I am leaving the center blank because I'm going to take the duochrome shade in this line and pop it in the center of my lid. So I'm just trying to keep that as blank as possible right in the middle there. And I'm gonna go back in with my E27 again. I'm not adding anything else on my brush. I'm just kind of blending everything out a little bit on the edges here. I'm gonna go back over that same shade with the shade Mod here and hopefully get more of a cranberry color out of it. This looks more like a deeper purple, and I really wanted something that was a little bit more cranberry focused. So I'm gonna go right over that same shade with the shade Mod out of this palette and just set it right over Drama. Now I'm going to be taking the shade Minx from the palette right here. It's in the exact same row as all of the other ones that we have used, and I'm going to pop that in the center of the lid just using my finger. And then I'm just taking this flat brush again with a little bit of Drama and Mod on it to blend out the edges. Okay, so now we are gonna put a stopper on the eyes just for a minute, and we're gonna move on to concealer and our cream contour. For concealer today, I'm gonna use the same Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in the shade Fair. I'm just gonna put that everywhere that I would want to conceal something or highlight. So I am going to stick it under my eyes here to not only cover up those dark circles, but also to highlight everywhere that I would normally put concealer. And now I'm just gonna blend that out with my Beauty Blender. Now I'm actually gonna go in with this Tartiest Pro Glow Palette. It's a gorgeous palette. It comes with 4 highlighting shades, 1 cream contour and 1 powder contour. I'm going to take the cream contour on this little brush from Tarte here. This came with my Slenderizer, which I hated. I did a whole review on that. Didn't like it. It just was not for me. It was way too orange. So I am just gonna set the color down using the denser part of this brush everywhere that I'm gonna want to contour. This is a super creamy contour shade. Now that I have that laid down, I'm gonna use my Beauty Blender to blend it all out. I have to say that blended out so easily. I feel like it's super creamy and easy to blend. It blended out a lot more than I thought it would actually, so I don't know how this would do on like darker skinned ladies. It might just kind of blend out into nothing on your face, but I think if you're more fair to medium, the shade should work fine for you, but again, if you are deeper, this might not work. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to put on my powder foundation, and that is going to be the Tarte Confidence Creamy Powder Foundation in the shade Fair Light Neutral. And I'm just taking that on a crown brush that I have, and I'm going to first tap it on and then buff it into the skin. Next, I'm gonna take this Eve Pearl highlighter brush. It is the Fan Highlighter 204 brush, and I'm gonna use the smaller side, and I'm gonna just pick up some of the powder contour, which is the shade Sculpt, out of the Pro Glow palette, and just tap off the excess. And I'm just gonna kind of go over lightly wherever I did put that cream contour. I'm gonna take that shade Sculpt again with this crown brush again, and I'm just gonna kind of use a lighter hand to generally bronze up my face. This is a pretty cool toned color, but it does work for someone of my skin tone to bronze. I'm actually really liking how this is turning out. I think that it's coming out really nice. For blush, I'm going to be using their Big Blush Book 2 from Tarte, obviously. This was limited edition, but they do have some holiday palettes. I know they have a blush palette at Sephora right now that has several mini blushes, so just grab whatever blush you have, but I do like this set. I think I'm going to go in with the shade Thrill today. It's just a nice neutral color. I don't want it to take away from my eyes at all. So I'm going to go back in with that Eve Pearl Fan highlighter brush and just get some of that right there and tap off the excess and apply away. This brush was in my favorites video last month. I love, love, love this brush. It's ridiculously expensive if you buy this brush alone. I bought this brush as part of a set off of QVC and I'm obsessed with it. I love it for applying my blush. It's perfect, even though it says it's the highlighter brush. I use it for my blush every day and I'm obsessed. There's just something about the softness and the density of the bristles that applies blush perfectly. And also the shape, it's just, I love it. I'm just gonna finish off my eyes really quickly. I'm gonna go back into the Tartiest Pro Palette. I'm gonna take the shade Profesh just on this E70 brush from Morphe. This doesn't really matter. I'm gonna pinch the ends and just kind of apply it on my lower lash line. And now I'm gonna take a slightly fluffier brush and I'm gonna take the shade Chic and blend that out a little bit. Liner today, I'm gonna go into the palette and I'm gonna take the shade Punk, which is just a black shade, and I'm going to take it on this Morphe E29 brush and just line my eyes using that. So I'm gonna try to do this in frame. No guarantees though. I love, love, love using this eyeliner technique by just using a darker shadow to use as your liner because it's just kind of softer and more feminine, and it's really easy to do and super beginner friendly. It's one of my favorites. I'm actually gonna take that same shade and line my waterline with it using the same brush. I actually don't own any Tarte brow products, so I am gonna dip back into this palette again, and I'm gonna go into the shade Edgy, and I'm just gonna try to lightly fill in my brows with it using that same Morphe brush. Hopefully this goes well. I'm just gonna kind of really lightly fill in any sparse areas. They are a little darker than I normally would go for, but I actually am okay with the way that it looks. A little bit darker and a little bit more red toned, but I could probably have fixed that if I had used more of this shade as opposed to this shade, but I think that it looks fine. Like if I was traveling and I was in a pinch, I would feel perfectly confident doing my brows with this. So if you're on a budget and you really want a nice eyeshadow that's gonna give you a lot of looks and be versatile, this is actually a really good option. I absolutely love this palette, so I highly, highly recommend it. All that's left is highlighting lips and mascara. So for mascara, I'm gonna be using this Tarte Tartiest mascara. It is one of my favorite mascaras. As always, I am going to curl my lashes first and then pop this on, and we'll go on to the next step. Now it's time for our highlight, and I am gonna go into this gorgeous palette, and I am gonna use the shade Stunner right over here. I think that it's like the most beautiful pinky champagne color, and I'm gonna actually try and apply this with my beauty blender today because I left my normal highlighting brush in the bathroom. That's really pretty. And to finish the look off, I'm gonna be using this Tarte Lip Sculptor lipstick and lip gloss in the shade Vintage. That's a lot more pink than I thought it was, so I'm gonna pull out a little trick. I'm actually gonna take that shade Minx out of the palette, and I'm gonna press it on over that lipstick. I'm also gonna take some of Mod. Now I'm gonna go over it with the gloss. Whenever I find that I'm like in a pinch and I have a lipstick that's way too light, I like to use the trick of using an eyeshadow that might be able to make it a little bit darker or a little bit more red, and I find that that actually ends up looking pretty nice and it helps match the eye look. So if you ever need to kind of alter your color a little bit, don't be afraid to reach for an eyeshadow and use your finger to kind of pat it over your lipstick. But anyway, this is the completed look. I really hope that you enjoyed this one brand tutorial. I really enjoyed filming it. I love Tarte products. Love, love, love Tarte products. I'm sorry if this video is like super long. I'll try to kind of cut out everything that's not important, but I just had a really good time filming it for you. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys would like to see next. I love you all so much. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon. Bye guys.